BookTube, it's Louise, the big head bookworm. Lovely to see you. Hope you're well. Hope you're having a fabulous day. It's Friday the 9th of June here. So we woke up this morning to find the confusion after the general election yesterday. Woke up and found out that we've got a hung parliament. Made everybody do this. Oh, well, fancy that. And can I just say, this isn't political, but if the commentators say this one more time, we did not vote for a hung parliament. At no point did anybody say, and would you like a hung parliament? Well, yes. Actually, that's what I would like. I'd like a hung parliament. No, it just means lots and lots of people exercise their democratic right to vote. And the turnout was brilliant. I mean, that is just great. It boggles my mind that anybody has the ability to vote and doesn't. It boggles my mind that you would do such a thing. So the fact that most people did go out and actually did vote either postal or what have you is brilliant. This complete aside, and we have since Benedict was a little boy, you know, like a weenie. We've taken him whenever there's been an election. So for the referendum, on Europe, we take him to all the general election ones and like local elections. We take him to the polling booth, and he was there yesterday going, "Oh, it's general election day. We've got to go to the polling booth," and we go as a family, and he's able to come in with us, and he always comes around and he kind of stands with me and watches me exercise my right and looks at me and nods, and we talk about it beforehand because I want him to grow up knowing that that's what you do. And now I shall find my soapbox and get off it. There we are, we didn't need that, but I feel very passionate about it this morning. So yes, I hope you are well. For those that are in the UK, I hope you're feeling hopeful, not distraught, and it's exciting times. Let's not have another general election, although it may be that we need it. Anyway, I am here to give you an update on my reading challenge. So I did the PopSugar reading challenge. I started in January. I had a look through, and this was the best one that I could see. It was going to challenge me, but it wasn't going to make me read so much out of my comfort zone that I wouldn't read, because I don't do reviewing books. I don't. You know, I'm just somebody that is passionate about reading for herself and enjoys talking about books. I don't work in the industry. I don't work as a bookseller anymore. So I don't have to read outside of my comfort zone. I like to stretch myself every so often, but then there are some times that I need comfort from my reading, and reading is so much something that I do as comfort. I was watching Melbourne on my mind? And she was talking about how she reads so many books, and she did an updated video. If I can find it, I will link it below, but the likelihood of that is slim. Anyway, she was talking about how she reads so many books in a year, and one of the things that she was saying is that for her, she reads every day because she feels she has to read. It's part of who she is. It's part of how she makes sense of the world, and how she processes the world is taking time out of it to read. It allows her, you know, she would say that she was an extreme introvert, and so needs that kind of time withdrawn and in the solitary pursuit of reading. So that's what she does. And although I wouldn't say I was an extreme introvert, I am an introvert, and I could really relate to her when she said that, because I thought, yes, that's what I do. I think there are so many of us that have part of the kind of the book selling world or part of BookTube can look at that and say, yes, that's what I'm like. I'm a reader because it's how I make sense of the world in some way. So I kind of withdraw from it, and it allows me to immerse myself in another world, but gives me space to make sense of this world as well. So whilst I was choosing a challenge that was going to make me read out of my comfort zone. It wasn't going to make reading so uncomfortable to me that I would feel lost or not want to do it. So I looked at the PopSugar reading challenge, and there are 40, and then I think there's a further 10 or a further 20 you can kind of do as an advanced. I set myself the very, very loose challenge of reading 60 books this year, because I didn't think, I normally read between 90 and 100 probably, and without too much effort. And I thought I would not read as many this year because of, at the beginning of the year, of course, I knew that my mum was going to pass, and so I knew that it was going to I was going to find it a difficult year, whatever. And I didn't know how it was going to affect my reading, and it has affected my reading as I expected, in the fact that I haven't read as much and I have struggled at times. In previous videos where I talked about books that I've got so far in and then stopped. Quite a few people said, yes, I found that once, losing a parent or going through a tremendous loss like that disrupts your reading, and it disrupts so much of your life. It disrupts your life completely, and you are slightly derailed in that way that even normal coping strategies are not comfortable, and you have to find your way into that. And so I just want to say to anybody that's going through that, like myself, kind of extend a loving hug towards you, and know that I am with you and sending you my best. So I set myself a really loose challenge of reading 60 books. I have read 40. At the end of May, I realised that I had read 40 books. So I'm going to go past that. And the idea with the PopSugar one is that I would choose a book for each of the challenge. So I would allocate a book for each challenge. So I wouldn't, like I could use one book for multiple challenges, and maybe at the end of the year if I'm really stuck I will do, but otherwise I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and do 40 books for the 40 challenges and look at the advanced, and if I can get others in the advanced then that will be great. So I've got here a list of all the books that I have, or the challenges I have completed so far, and I have completed 17 so far out of the 40, which isn't bad considering I have 7 months left. So that's good. So I should be able to read 23. And also, I haven't been paying any attention to the challenges. Excuse me while I take a little slurp. So now I shall be paying attention to the challenges a little bit more. And I've actually looked at the ones that I think I'm going to find tricky. And I'm going to have a think about those and see if I can, kind of direct myself a little bit further. So let's go through. So far, if I just do that, I have the list here. If you see me looking that way, that's what I'm looking at. So I've got a list here, and I've drawn a little box and ticked each one. It's great fun. And I shall show you the books that I've read so far that have my completed challenges. So a book that's been on your TBR list for way too long. Sarah Waters, The Paying Guests. I bought this when it first came out in paperback, which is in 2015. She's an author I absolutely love. So the fact that it took me over 2 years to get to this book is a badness, because basically I should have read it within the first couple of months, because I really love her as an author. But I'm really glad I've read it now. A book by a person of colour. I am saying the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, because I gather N.K. Jemisin is a person of colour, and there we are. I have read the 5th season. Not going to tell you whether I liked it or not. Don't want to give anything away. A book with one of the 4 seasons in the title, Before the Fall, by Noah Hawley. I did think about trying to read a book with autumn or spring or summer or winter, but then I found, Before the Fall by Noah Hawley, and I thought, well, I'm going to tick it off. I'm going to have that one. A book by multiple authors. Terry Pratchett's The Long Earth, because it's Terry Pratchett and Stephen Baxter. Now, this is one I was considering I was going to find a bit tricky, a challenge I would find tricky, because I don't tend to read books by multiple authors. But I suppose graphic novels is probably the best, isn't it? Because you tend to have your illustrator and your graphic artist, not illustrator, graphic artist, and the person with the words. But there we go. I've done it. Tick. Long Earth. An espionage thriller. That wasn't going to be a tricky one for me, because of my love of James Bond, and so I am using Goldfinger. Look at that glorious espionage thriller. A book by an author who uses a pseudonym. Love Murder by Soulblack. Soulblack's other name is Glenn Duncan. So tick for that one. That was a fortunate one, that just happened to be there. A book involving travel is A Time to Keep Silence by Patrick Lee Fermer. because not only is it about him travelling to the monasteries in France, but it's the last essay is about him travelling to find monasteries in Turkey. So it really does involve travel. So I'll have that. It's such a slim book and it's so impactful. I mean, I just highly recommend it. It'll be one of the books of my year, that one. It really will. Just beautiful. A book that's published in 2017. I have quite a few of those. But I was pleased to be able to say A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. The reason I wanted to choose this one rather than the other ones is because I pre-ordered this one, and I so rarely pre-order books that I wanted to read it as it came out. So I thought that has to be referenced in that way. A book that involves a mythical creature. I read quite a lot of paranormal, so I can do that quite easily. I'm using Archangel's Enigma by Nalini Singh, which is a paranormal romance, and this is one of her Guild Hunter novels. It does have angels and vampires. Let's say werewolves, but it doesn't have werewolves. It has vampires. It also has the love interest of this, in that the male love interest in this is also not an angel and he's not a werewolf. What is he? He is a mythical creature, and I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's part of the mystery in the book. But that's it. I'm having that one. A book that you've read before that never fails to make you smile. And I'm going to go for Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. The reason I'm choosing this one is because it makes me smile because it is such a wonderful series. And although this one is devastating at the end, there are still moments that make me smile. There are still light moments. It is full of light and shade, and it is just so comforting. So it makes me smile because I find it a comforting series anyway. So there we go. Oh, and have you seen the 20th editions of the Philosopher's Stone? They're rather nice, aren't they? Yes. Do I want to buy all 4? Yes. Have I got so many copies of the Philosopher's Stone? Do I need another one? No. Is that going to stop me? No. A book from a non-human perspective. The Book of Phoenix by Nadi Okorafor. Okorafor. That sounds better, doesn't it? Yes, book from the perspective of a phoenix. That's quite non-human, so we can go for that. A steampunk novel, Changeless, by Gail Carriger. Oh, you're very good. A book with a red spine. I was thinking about using one of my James Bonds because that's in the vintage one, but I'm going for this one, which is Howard's End is on the Landing by Susan Hill, because that's got a nice red spine. And look, the book on the cover as well. So I kind of double spined that. A book with a title that's a character's name. I have Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. I was pleased with that one. A book with an unreliable narrator. In the Woods by Tanner French. I shall say no more than that. A book about an interesting woman. Now, I had quite a few of this that I wanted to use this one for, but she is such an interesting woman, is Caitlin Doherty. I love her. Like everybody, I like her YouTube channels, but I just think the book is really good, and I'm looking forward to her new book that comes out later in the year. Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, and Other Lessons from the Crematorium by Caitlin Doherty. So she's an interesting woman. I read it. I'm very glad I have. And the last one is first book in a series you haven't read before, and that's Slave to Sensation, which is a sci changeling novel by Nalini Singh, and this is the first one in that series. And there we go. I could have done quite a few books for that, but that's what I chose. So there we are. So that's 17 out of the 40 I have completed. So I have 23 left. And I'm already, I've already pinned some books. So for example, I am listening to My Cousin Rachel by Daphne du Maurier. Now, I've got the book and I was going to read it in August when we go down to Cornwall, because I like to read my Daphne's down in Cornwall because it's so atmospheric, and she has such an amazing feeling of place, and so reading it in the county and with the feeling and everything like that is just so wonderful. But there's a film coming out, and the challenge is to read a book that's going to be a movie adaptation. It's a movie adaptation, so I want to watch the film which is coming out in the next week or two. So I thought, well, I've got to. So I'm listening to that, not reading it, because I'm reading another book. And the tricky ones. How long is this going on? Am I going on? Never mind. Tricky ones. Come back to me another time. Pause me and come back to me. Bestseller from a genre you don't normally use. Now, I did kind of think, well, you know, I could do a graphic novel because I don't tend to read graphic novels, and so I could just get kind of saga or something like that, and then that would be a bestseller, wouldn't it, from a... But then I thought, well, why not stretch myself a little bit? And what I haven't read for ages, and it is a genre that I have previously really loved, and I just haven't been picking up the books or haven't seen the books out there, is bestsellers from history. So, for example, this is one of my previous ones, which I think I must have lent it to somebody because I don't know where my copy is. But it's Stalingrad by Anthony Beevor. That's Beevor, Anthony Beevor. And it's about the siege of Stalingrad and the Battle of Stalingrad in the Second World War. And it's a huge book, but it's so good, and I absolutely love it. And I read it years ago, and just it still lives with me. So I've really enjoyed some really good history bestsellers, and so I was thinking, I haven't read a good history bestseller for years. So Orlando Figures has written one in the last year or two, hasn't he? I think he's a Russian. There was a book on the Romanovs that came out recently that I quite like the look of, quite like the cut of the jib. I haven't looked at Antonia Fraser for a while. And I've read some of hers and really enjoyed them, and always enjoyed them. So she's kind of somebody that I know I could really enjoy. So historical non-fiction, basically. So it's non-fiction in the history genre. I'm going to look for a bestseller of that and get myself a nice chunky book from that. Political biography. I have got one on Audible about Jeremy Thorpe. So I might listen to that and use that. But we'll see. That's definitely one. Another one is a book with a cat on the cover. Now, you see, that could go in the category of whimsy. And I'm not a huge fan of whimsy, if the truth be told. If I'm being honest. Let's be honest, I'm not a fan of whimsy. So that's going to be... I'm going to have to look for that. Although there is a series of memoirs by Tom Cox, C-O-X, Tom Cox, and he wrote, was it Talk to the Tail and Under the Paw. I think those are two. I think Talk to the Tail and Under the Paw. And they're memoirs, and he's an avid cat lover and owner, and they're kind of by his life and that kind of stuff. So I might look at one of those because they're very good. And the other two, a book with career advice. What? I'm 44. So yes, I'm not going to short. If you're watching this and you think, well, I know there's a book that Louise will really like and it's got career advice in it. Maybe. Although, I could read my book about Eden, couldn't I? By Tim Smith. Would that have career advice in? It might do. That might be the one to do. And the other one is a book set around a holiday other than Christmas. So I could find something about Halloween, I reckon. I reckon that's my thing to do, is to find something about Halloween and read that at Halloween. So there we go. Have I whittled on too long? I have whittled on nearly... Oh my God, I really have been whittling on. So sorry, everybody. There's a bit of a long one, this one. But there we go. That's my PopSugar reading challenge update. So I've done 5 months out of the year, so I've got 7 months to go. I've got 23 challenges. I can do this. We can do this. Have you been doing a reading challenge? And how have you been doing with it? All right then, BookTube. This has been really lovely. Sorry it's been such a long one, but we just started chatting, didn't we? That's what happens when you and I get together. We sit down. You get your tea, I get my tea, and we chat it out. And it was being really good to get together with you and sit down. It's been lovely, BookTube. All my love to you, and let's do this again. Bye.